here to stay. I'm here to stay. It's time to live and see the light. Take the time to fight and do what's right. Gotta take it on one step at a time. I'm gonna open my eyes to a brand new day. Open my eyes to a brand new day. Open my eyes to a brand new day.
4 wins in 5 league games means that things are looking up for Dean Holden's men, who find themselves in the top half of the table once more. And today we face a side who have lost 4 of their last 5. So all things are pointing towards a home win here at the Valley this afternoon. Well, of course, we know the football doesn't quite work out like that, and we will need to be at our very best to overcome Fleetwood Town. Although they've lost their last 5 in League One, they did record a confidence-boosting FA Cup victory over Sheffield Wednesday during the week. That's seen the Cod Army progress to the 5th round of the competition for the first time in their history. And on top of that, there is a familiar face back in SE7 this afternoon as striker Jayden Stockley returns, having switched the Valley for Highbury Stadium just a couple of weeks ago. We've got lots to come ahead of kick-off here at Charlton TV. We'll hear exclusively from manager Dean Holden, who I spoke to a little earlier this afternoon. And today is our Men's Health Awareness Day. So we'll hear from the club's head of player care, Tracy Leeburn, who has arranged for around 500 supporters to have a PSA blood test at the Valley today. We'll also hear from wide man Corey Blackett-Taylor, who claimed his 5th league goal of the season in last weekend's victory over Exeter City. I'm delighted to be in the studio today with the heart of Charlton TV. It's Alan Curbishley and Steve Brown alongside me. Welcome, chaps. How are we both doing?
Very well. Yeah, Curbs is all smarmy because he beat me at golf yesterday, so...
Not just you.
You're on a high, Curbs.
Well, yeah, me and Scotty took on Brownie and Alistair Bayliss, who does the coaches for the club, and they were well beaten.
Well beaten.
Yeah.
I won the individual, which tells you one story, doesn't it? My partner was awful, but couldn't match them. They were too good on the day.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. And on a high, Curbs, a bit like the Charlton team after bouncing back from that narrow loss against Bolton to Exeter. What did you make of that game, and what kind of position do you think the boys are going to be in coming out to the pitch?
Oh, they've got to be full of confidence, and the fans should be. I think the momentum has changed. I like to think the fans are coming in here. As Brownie went, they've lost all these games. We've won 4 out of 5, and Fleetwood can't get a win. Oh, it's typical Charlton. We're going to blow it. But no, let's hope the fans are coming in today, looking forward to it, which we can't say they've done that on too many occasions, and really get behind the team. Whoever's here, get behind the team and make a bit of atmosphere, because I don't think Fleetwood are going to bring too many fans, so it's going to be down to our fans to make a bit of an atmosphere and keep this run going, because as Scotty Mintow's Mr. Optimistic, and he's always looking at the top 6 and going, oh, we're 10 points away. Well, you know what, we could be 7 after today, and that's a little bit of difference, and let's hope that is the case.
Brownie, I want to get your thoughts, because we mentioned it just a couple of minutes ago, the return of Jayden Stockley. He's a player that served the club for a number of appearances, scored a number of goals, but do you feel like he will have a slight point to prove this afternoon? I
would say yes. Yeah, I mean, the season didn't go according to plan for Jayden this year, so I think the fact we moved him on, do you know what, he'll be pleased that he's got this game out of the way quickly. I think you don't want it in the background, do you, hanging around knowing it's coming, so I think he'll be pleased it's within a couple of weeks of his move. Of course he's got a point to prove. I think any player that goes under a bit of a cloud, and I don't see it, it's just a progression of football. You come, you try your best, you get moved on if it's not working out. There shouldn't be any grievance, really. We should give him a round of applause when he comes on. He gave his best when he was here. It just didn't work out. But I think as an individual, I think he'd quite like to score today just to prove a point.
I think it did work out at the start.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Because, listen, we've had 4 or 5 managers, in 2 and odd years, and every manager's had a different perspective on the way the team's playing and what they want from players. And Dean's come in and gone, look, this ain't for me. But I do I felt sorry for Jayden. On a lot of occasions, he's been isolated up there on his own, balls banged. Was it Nigel Atkins that said, we keep knocking long balls up to Jayden, so I'm going to leave him out to stop the team doing it. Do you remember that?
Yeah. That feels like a decade ago, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'm saying is, different managers want to play a different style, and obviously Dean, I'm looking at Dean's 11, and it's athletic, to say the least, and that's what he's after. And obviously Jayden wouldn't fit into that. But when Jayden was playing up with someone else, like i.e. Washington or 1 or 2 others, it was a bit of a partnership, and he done well for the club. And I think he will get a round of applause, because week in, week out, when he played, he gave everything.
Yeah, and it wasn't his fault that we decided to change pathway in the summer either. We want, the whoever's decision it was, we wanted to play a different way in a different system, and unfortunately we couldn't play that way, and so Jayden, he didn't get made the fool guy, but he suffered because of it, and it was the right thing for both parties, I think, that he moved on. But yeah, fingers crossed he doesn't score, but yeah, I want to prove a point.
Fingers crossed he doesn't score, but I do hope he gets a round of applause, because any time that I interviewed him or spoke to him, he was really passionate and dedicated to the club. And I know sometimes it doesn't go for a lot, but getting here earlier and seeing him walk out onto the pitch, he shook every member of staff's hand, he went and spoke to the groundsman, and I think in this modern age, I don't know, those things aren't lost on me. So good luck for the rest of the season, Jayden, but please don't score this afternoon.
If he scores, let's hope we still win. But I think Dean Holden has mentioned this week, you had a grown-up conversation with him, and, you know, this is where we're at as a club. These have come in, there's a fee being paid or whatever. You know, you're not in my plans. You know, what do you want to do? Yeah. And he's decided to go. So
there's a right way and a wrong way to conduct yourself, and he's an intelligent boy, and he's conducted himself the right way, and that's how it should be done. You know, there is no grievance, so it's no surprise or no shock that he has come in and shook everybody's hand. He's a decent fella like that.
Well, let's talk about Fleetwood overall then, because they did pick up a decent victory midweek in the FA Cup, although Sheffield Wednesday made 10 changes. Nevertheless, to reach that stage of the competition in your club's history, no matter what your form is, that's got to be good for your confidence. How do you think the visitors are going to be feeling coming here to the Valley this afternoon?
Yeah, I think the win in midweek is certainly going to help. You know, but it might even take their eye off it. You know what it's like when you get to the latter stage of the FA Cup. The league game before, you normally lose. You've got half an eye on that. But Sheffield Wednesday have only got one thing on their minds, and that's to get promotion out of this league. So it's no surprise they made their 10 changes, and that will, you know, open the door for Fleetwood to step through. League form deserted them, you know, and they find it really difficult to see games through as well. I think they've dropped the most points from leading positions this year. I think it's like 24 points they've dropped from leading positions. So they struggle to see out a game. Their league form's poor. I think you said they've lost. Well, I know they've lost 4 in the spin, but I think you said 5. I think they've only won 3 in the last 17. So they come seriously out of form. And with the form we're in, and this is my worry why I do what I do, you think it's an absolute home banker. We are the favourites for this game, which we've not been favourites for too many games this year. We're favourites for this game.
I don't think they will be looking forward to it.
No, listen.
You know, they know what we've been doing in recent weeks, so they're hoping for a good start. But as Bernie says, you know, even if they get their nose in front, they're wishing their lives away. They can't see it out. So, yeah, listen, as I said earlier, the Charlton fans should be coming in here looking forward to this. The expectation level, yes. The expectation level is we should win. And let's hope we can go ahead and do that, because that keeps that momentum going. That's what we need.
And Kev, there's always such fine margins in these games. I think we've seen it in recent weeks as well. And looking for kind of little wins here and there. Obviously, the visitors have had to travel midweek, they've had to make a long trip down south. So coming out of the blocks even more, and even psychologically for Charlton, to make the most of that early on will be really important, won't it?
And obviously Jayden's going to have an influence on this Fleetwood side. Tell them the way that Charlton like to play, what they like to do, etc. So yeah, that's an added thing to it. But yeah, listen, I used to like it when someone else played midweek and then you had them at the weekend, because you know that there's a little bit took out of them. But it's up to us to go today, and I think give our fans something to sing about and get behind, and then you never know, the momentum's with us.
Yeah, I think when a team's played midweek, I think you always hope they're going to start sluggishly. So let's make sure the first 10 minutes of the game is absolutely spot on. Let's put them under pressure, turn them around, bank them up, you know, make the start difficult. And then the second part of it is you hope later on in the game, 70 to 90, they start tailing off as well, because they've had that midweek
that's
fixture.
The point about getting after them first 10 minutes, and that's what Dean's done. He's encouraged us to knock the ball long, go forward early, and put teams under pressure. If we come out for the first 10 or 15 minutes and keep the ball backwards and square, they'll be settled into it, and so we've got to unsettle them, we've got to upset them.
Well, with no further ado then, let's find out who Dean is starting this afternoon. I caught up with the manager earlier on today, and here's what he had to say. Dean, back at the Valley after a great win at Exeter last weekend. First of all, what's the starting 11 today?
So we've gone with the same starting team, so Ash in goal, Sean Clare, Innes, Lucas Ness and Matty Penny at left back. We've gone with Dobson, Kilkenny, Corey Blackett-Taylor, Raksaki, with Scotty Fraser and Macaulay Bonne up front.
Upon reflection, what was the most pleasing thing about last weekend's win in Devon?
That's a good question. I think the way that we attacked through the middle of their defence, we'd identified that going into the game, where there were some weaknesses and some spaces that we could exploit, and we saw in both goals really, the wingers making them out to him, runs down towards goal rather than always down the sides to the corner flag. So yeah, that was pleasing, the 2 goals. The other thing is probably it depends how you look at this. The pressure that we came under just after we scored our second goal up until half time was quite intense. We obviously conceded, which is disappointing, but the way that we probably got in at 2-1 and then managed the second half is something that the team's continually trying to develop. It's obviously been an issue probably early in the season where we've conceded a goal and heads have dropped and stuff. So I think since the Portsmouth game we've seen a development increasing with that. So that's something we need to keep improving on. But that was a positive as well, yeah.
Looking at today, Fleetwood are out of form in the league, but they picked up a confidence-boosting win in the FA Cup. What are you expecting from them today?
I touched on Scott Brown, the type of player that he was. You see that in his team, his personality, he's there for all to see in the team. There's a lot of energy in that midfield. There's people that want to run and get up to the ball. Clearly they've brought Jayden and Marriott in, 2 good strikers. We've got to keep our eye on. But they play with a lot of energy. And to be honest with you, I don't quite know the team. As you say, they made a lot of changes in the week and got a really positive win against Sheffield Wednesday. So we'll wait till we get their team. But we're setting the way that we want to play. We're back at the Valley after, as you say, a good away win last week. The crowd were behind us again. So we've got to make sure we get them out of the seats again.
And does them having to play in midweek and then making the long trip down south, is that something that we can make work into our favour perhaps?
Maybe, yeah. It's a psychological thing, isn't it? You have to find every edge. For us, we've had a really good week training-wise. The training pitches are starting to come back a little bit now in terms of the weather, so we've had a good week. 1 or 2 things to contend with, as you always get, but that's fine. But the lads are in a good place. There's a good spirit around the place, and it was important on the back of the transfer window. We addressed where we are in the league, where we want to try and get to. This is us now to the end of the season in terms of this is the squad, and so there's been a new purpose, I suppose, sort of built between us all. And this is now the next game we'll take care of.
Finally, it was a great away following at Exeter last Saturday, and we managed to send the supporters away happy. What role can they play back here at the Valley today?
I've said it before. I just hope they realise what it means to the players. Singing a player's name during the game, warm up. They get behind you if we're coming under a little bit of pressure. All these things. It's a brilliant place to work. It's some incredible stadium, this, and we know the supporters are with us at the moment. We have to make sure that they continue to see what they're out there, what they're enjoying. So we appreciate the support, and I'm sure they'll be behind us again today.
Well, you look forward to the 90. Best of luck. Great to hear from Dean there. Curbs, an unchanged starting 11 from that win at Exeter. Any surprises there, or are you kind of getting the sense in Dean is really finding what his strongest team is?
The only thing he might have started thinking is Miles Leeburn, but he's out with a slight knock at the time because McCauley's come in. He's not played a lot of football. He's not so much struggled, but he's not got into the game. And but Miles being out, but there is Chuck's on the bench, so I can understand it. I always had a thing, when you're being consistent with your team selection and you start getting results, there's no coincidence in that, and so as he's getting the results, consistent team selection, consistent results. So yeah, I would have thought that might have been the only thing in his mind, but obviously been took away from him.
And some new faces in that starting 11. Penny made his debut a couple of weeks ago. I was really impressed with him. I know we didn't get the win, but technically I thought he looked really good quality. Kilkenny, what did you make of him last week, Brownie? Yeah,
really good actually. It was a super debut. He was really industrious, covered every blade of grass, got a little bit of a bite to him. He likes to get tight nick balls and he pursues it until it's seen out. He's one of them. He reminds me of Kinsella a little bit, if I'm honest. But I think there's some good news in terms of Jojo Wallocott's back on the bench. You've got Chuck's fighting fit on the bench. You think about all the January window movement that we've had. That bench looks strong as well now. So we're in a good place. I think that team picked itself today, if I'm honest, even if Miles was fit. It's very difficult to manoeuvre a winning side, and it was a decent performance last week. So I didn't expect anything different. It's obviously a bit gutting that Miles has picked up a slight knock, because you want him fighting on the bench as well. You'd like him to be available for you. But yeah, I mean that starting 11 deserves the shirt for me, and I think if you sell that as a manager, I give you the shirt, you earn the right to keep it. Very difficult to change that around.
Well, Curbs and I have been making the point that we're only 10 points away from the playoffs. We're looking up, so let's have a look at the table right now. And we only need to look at the top half because we jumped up to 12th following last weekend's victory in Exeter. And if we can win today, like Curb said, we could end the day in 10th. There are new leaders at the very top of League One as Sheffield Wednesday leapfrogged Plymouth Argyle by beating them 1-0 at Hillsborough on Saturday. What a massive win that was. Up until Saturday, Plymouth had been top of the league for all but one round of fixtures since the end of September, so their bounce-back ability will certainly be tested today. Ipswich Town in third dropped points again on Saturday as they were held at Cambridge United. The Tractor Boys have won one of their last 6 in the league. Barnsley were the only club between 4th and 9th on Saturday not to win. They were held at Portsmouth, who are 10th. So, Brownie, with your realist hat on, what should we be aiming for?
I said it last week and I'll say it again this week. I love to be positive, and there is reason to be positive with the results we've had and the performances we've had. But I can't emphasise enough the run we've got to go on to catch 6th spot. It's an incredible run, right? But let's start looking up for now because I know. But I think if you can't do it now with the run we're on, you're never going to do it. But I can't. It's more than promotion winning form we've got to be in. And it's interesting you talk about Plymouth because if they had another setback today, this is exactly what they did last year. They were running away with it and they hit a brick wall. And they made some serious signings in January. Most of them loans, but they were still good signings. And I still got a thing for Derby County in terms of like they are on a serious run of form. Like it's incredible. You know, that's the sort of run of form we've got to go on if we've got serious notions about catching 6th. And so they're in play. Sheffield, we said if you finish above Sheffield, you're going to get promoted. They're very, very strong. But it's an interesting dynamic because it's starting to squeeze up in that top 4. But yeah, all Dean Holden can do is keep reeling off win after win. This is a very winnable game today. It's a very winnable game Tuesday. And then we have a couple of tough ones. I think we've got Derby and Sheffield, haven't we? But if you can manage to pick off 6 points over these next 2, it'll keep Curbs and Scotty and yourself happy. And I'll have to pipe down.
I've just changed. Because like 4 wins out of 5 makes you change a little bit.
Yeah, no,
on
it
that
does.
point, seriously, the psychology behind it. And I wanted to ask, you've managed many a dressing room, and Sheffield Wednesday have spent so much of the season chasing the top. Now they are top, they're the ones that are being chased. Does the psychology in the dressing room change a little bit? Do individuals kind of notice and pick up a different sense of pressure when they walk out onto the pitch?
Because they're looking, they're going, oh, we could be a championship player next year. And you know, especially in games, if you're leading, you can mentally start thinking, right, we've got to hold on to this. You know, early on in the season, you just carry on playing. The nearer you get to the end of the season and the prizes are handed out, that's when the pressure comes. So, yeah, there is going to be some wobbles in that top 6. You know, and there's a couple of teams that have played games more than us. We've got to take advantage of that. So, as Brownie just said, the next 2 games against opposition, we'd like to think we can win. If that's like 6 out of 7 taking us into the big games,
That's what I mean.
yeah,
Makes a big difference.
Makes a big difference.
Confidence and morale, yeah. I mean, I'll tell you a quick story that will help your argument, not mine. Is I booked a holiday when we were sat 12th in the year we won the playoff final, and my missus was in Spain whilst I was playing at Wembley. So I didn't have faith back then, and I still haven't got faith. At least I haven't changed.
I can't believe that.
Yeah,
Can you?
No, I'm going to have to start asking the Charlton players post-match. Have any of you booked your holidays? Spain, where are you going? But
So she watched it.
No,
she watched it from Marbella or somewhere.
Yeah. You made 3 signings, which made a massive difference. We went on an unbelievable run for the last 12 games, and like, I booked it with Stuart Barmer, and we were sat there every week going, we could have to been the holiday here.
All worth it in the end,
Yeah,
right?
well, absolutely. Well, it was worth it until Mandy landed from Spain, and then I got a massive earfall again. But
Well, there is a full
You
programme.
learn something, don't you?
Every episode, every
other
week. Yeah.
Okay.
And there is a full programme in League One today, and it pits a lot of the big hitters against each other. The biggest one is arguably Ipswich against Sheffield Wednesday at Portsmouth Road. Ipswich surely have to take something from that game to keep their automatic promotion hopes alive. Elsewhere, Plymouth welcome Portsmouth to Home Park. Peterborough host Bolton at the West Home Stadium, and Derby travel to Wycombe Wanderers. Away from the promotion race, Forest Green Rovers, who we face next, travel to Morecambe. Chaps, there are some really big games there. What are the standout ones for you?
Portman Road fixture's the biggie, isn't it? Yeah, that's huge. I mean, they're in such a poor run of form, Ipswich, and Sheffield the opposite. You've got to, and you can now understand why he made all the changes he made. I didn't realise this fixture was ahead of the FA Cup, or also beyond the FA Cup game. So you can understand why Darren Moore's made those changes. But that's got to be a sellout. I mean, they're going to sell out the Jimmy Seed stand, Sheffield Wednesday, when they come down here. They will have sold out that corner up at Ipswich as well. That'll be a cracking atmosphere. Should be a really good game.
It's interesting, when you talk about pressure, there's more pressure down the bottom. Let me tell you, that, when you're struggling in that bottom four. The game I'm looking at, if we're being on that positive stretch, is the Peterborough-Bolton game. If that's a draw, or what, you've got to start thinking like that if we get the result today.
Right, well, let's take a little pause from proceedings today to bring you some updates from around the club. We'll start with ticketed news. As always, after today, we've got one more home game to come in February, which is against league leaders Sheffield Wednesday on Saturday, February the 25th, and tickets are on sale for that fixture now. Following that, we have 2 home league games to come in March. First, we host Accrington Stanley on Saturday, March the 11th, and then we take on Wycombe Wanderers on Saturday, March the 25th. Tickets for both of those games can be purchased by visiting booking.cafc.co.uk. Our Sky Bet League One match against Sheffield Wednesday on Saturday, February 25th will be Charlton's first greener game. The club will join forces with front of shirt partners RSK, the University of Greenwich and our Community Trust to encourage players, staff and supporters to make more environmentally friendly decisions. Further information on how you can get involved will be announced in the weeks leading up to the game. Everyone at Charlton TV would like to extend their congratulations to young defender Lucas Nest, who won the club's January 2023 Player of the Month award earlier this week. Lucas is the only player to play every minute of every game since manager Dean Holden took charge back in December, meaning that in January he helped the club to 3 league wins out of 4 and also got 19 minutes against Manchester United at Old Trafford. A big well done to Lucas, who also celebrated his 21st birthday on Thursday, so quite some week for him. And another congratulations is in order, this time to Jason Pearce's under-18 squad, who booked their place in the semi-final of the Premier League Cup last Saturday by winning 4-2 away at West Bromwich Albion. The pick of the goals was this opener from Ryan Hugh, and after twice being pegged back before half-time, they needed 2 unanswered goals in the second half to run out 4-2 winners. A big well done to all our young lads. On to the Charlton women's team now, and 4 members of Karen Hills' squad have been called up to represent the England Lionesses youth teams. Kira Scales, Mia Ross and Angela Addison have all been selected by the Lionesses under-23 squad, and they could feature against Belgium at Prenton Park on Monday, February the 20th. Meanwhile, Alex Hennessy, who we'll mention again in a few moments' time, has been selected for the under-19 squad. Alex will travel to Spain for a training camp and could feature in matches against Germany and Switzerland. We wish all our addicts the very best of luck whilst they are on their travels. Staying with the women's team and with Alex Hennessy, she scored her first Charlton goal on Sunday as the Addicts made it 8 wins in a row by beating Coventry United at the Oakwood in the Barclays Women's Championship. The winning goal came in second half stoppage time, and that win keeps them 5th in the league table. They could go second if they can win at second bottom Sheffield United tomorrow. Sadly, there was some not so nice news to come out of that game as Ella Rutherford sustained a serious knee injury in the second half. We wish Ella all the best in her recovery, and the rest of the team the best of luck in Sheffield tomorrow. Moving on next, today is Men's Health Awareness Day here at the Valley, and to find out more about the initiative, I spoke to Head of Player Care, Tracy Leeburn, pitchside earlier on. Tracy, today is Men's Health Awareness Day at the Valley. Can you tell us about what's going on this afternoon?
Yeah, well, today we've got 500 men booked in for PSA testing. So it's really getting busy in there now, which is fantastic. So the men are all just coming in for a simple blood test to check their PSA levels.
And I know this day means a lot to you and your family personally. Can you tell us a little bit about why?
Yeah, so my grandfather had prostate cancer. My dad had prostate cancer as well, but unfortunately he passed away from it. So it caused a massive hole in our family, and if I can stop any other family from going through the same thing, this is exactly what this idea is. And it has definitely saved lives, which is fantastic.
What is it like then when a supporter comes to you and says, courtesy of the PSA testing that they've subsequently had a follow-up and maybe even treatment for prostate cancer? It must mean a lot to you.
It honestly does. Like I've had a gentleman outside actually once, and I just literally started crying because I just couldn't. That was after like one of our first testing days, and now I have emails. And I love hearing the stories because it's a lot of work to arrange this day, and it just makes everything worthwhile. And it's just seeing everybody come together. I think if the fans didn't come, there was no point in having it. The fans, the players, everyone donating towards the day. Every penny goes to hosting this day. So it just brings us all together, and it's very, very touching when I've been reached out by wives and men I've helped save their lives.
Yeah, it's so important because not only is it saving lives, but it's raising awareness of the condition as well, which is incredibly important. Each supporter who takes the PSA testing today is going to pay £10. Yeah. There's a £15 shortfall, and we've been doing a lot of fundraising. Yes. Tell us a little bit about what you've been getting up to.
Well, so the gaffer and I did a meal squill challenge, 6 courses, and then snakes at the end. It was I just decided to come up with all these strange things, and we did it at the training ground. All the players were there, everybody was there, under 21 players. Some of the first team players brought us the food out, and actually it was a great bit of team bonding as well. But it wasn't great for Dean and I to obviously have to eat that stuff.
When you say 6 courses, you're thinking, oh, lovely fine dining, not quite.
Pig's anus. But it was tough to get through. But I think that's the aim of doing these challenges, is that we've raised nearly £10,000. I mean, it's unbelievable. I never thought that at the beginning. I thought we were going to really struggle, but where everyone's got behind us and supported us, it's made it that we've hit 10 grand. That's just fantastic.
Yeah, you absolutely smashed that fundraising target. And given the kind of cost of living crisis we're in, what words would you like to say to the supporters and the wider football family who have generously donated to the cause?
Just massive thank yous. I can't thank everyone enough for supporting this. Everyone's got behind it. It was an idea that I came up with like 5 years ago. The club supports me, the fans support, the players support. It's all of us together. So I owe everybody a massive, massive thank you, because without them we wouldn't have been able to do it. And every single person that's donated or supported has helped save a man's life. And I think that's all of us together.
It's a huge team effort. It is spearheaded by you. So thank you for not only joining us on Charlton TV, but for the amazing work you do.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Great to hear from Tracy there. An absolutely outstanding amount of money raised. Thank you to everyone who has supported. Now, all this talk of Mill Squill, the challenge last weekend, let's see what really unfolded at the training ground.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Neil Squills, the gaffer, and Tracy will be doing some disgusting stuff. Three, two, one, go! How's it taste?
Try.
Morio ones. Hope you enjoy it. And they are now.
What is it?
This is meant to be pig's brain. Oh no.
Follow it. Follow Trace. Follow Trace.
Let me do meal ones. And there's some on the top.
Right, here,
Big swing, guys. versus Pete Haynes.
Ready?
You need to use that different nine, fill it.
Oh my. Is that right?
Stay over there. Last year we did walk over the O2. This year, trying to think of a different challenge, and the gaffer mentioned that he'd done something similar. So that was it.
The drink was probably the worst one. The little maggots, so God knows what was in them, but fish eyes weren't so great either, but all for good cause, I suppose. We made a lot of money. We raised a lot of money as a football club, supporters and players alike, so yeah, why not?
So my father unfortunately passed away from prostate cancer, so that's why it's so close to my heart. And my grandfather had it, but he died of something else. So for me, it's really to stop any other family going through what mine did by trying to save their lives.
Oh, I was watching that through my hands there. What if I was to say to you, gents, you know, it's only right that Charlton TV steps up as well and welcome in the chef to bring you in some treats to try.
Bigger bucket of what he puked into if you made me do that. There's no way I could get through that. Just no way.
How about if you got the fly on the Grant Hancock got?
Oh, maybe I get through it. You'd still need a bigger bucket. Gag reflexes are awful and stuff like that. Ugh.
Nah.
Unbelievable effort, but Curbs, the more serious point, the wider objective, of course, is around Men's Health Awareness Day. And I know in previous years that you've had a PSA test. Don't know if you had one today even, but so important, isn't it, that football can do more than just send people home happy after 3 results. It can change and save
league
lives.
Managers are big on PSA, and that's where you got the badge from. Yeah, listen, us men, we don't go to the doctors when we don't feel well, especially something like this where, you know, you can have a blood test so easy. Okay, sometimes you might have to have a physical test, but, you know, it is a killer of men, and it's the most treatable cancer that men can get if they catch it early. I've got a good friend, Mickey Hartford, who I play with at Birmingham, he's at, you know, Luton, etc. He's going through it now. And you know, they caught it early, which is great, and that's why you've got to be tested. Every year, go to your doctor and say you want a blood test. It's simple. Go and have the blood test. Yeah,
and to be honest with you, that's why Tracy's doing that. You heard the story, you know, why she's so invested in it, you know, her own personal family tragedy, and she raised enough money that you just make a donation. So there's no real excuse. If you haven't got the money to do it, this is why Tracy raises the money, so that you can come down here and pay a tenner, you know, and get the result. So it really is worthwhile.
Brownie, what also it underlines is how amazing the Charlton football family is, because there's a cost of living crisis. Everyone's pockets are harder up, yet still they've managed to raise £10,000, and I'm sure that's going to go up throughout the afternoon as well, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah, and they might not use all that on this year, so maybe we can do one next year without Tracy having to eat a load of dirty food.
Just give it that.
But look, you know, you're only kidding yourself if you don't come in and take advantage of what Tracy's doing there.
Well, gents, I'm very pleased that you're up here with me in the studio and that you declined the offer of participating in the walk-in football that's taken out pitch side. Very, very kind of you, because I reckon you could do a bit in that, Brownie.
In goal.
That's how he used to play.
Oh, God, here we go. Do you know what? As sad as it is, I would struggle with that. That's how bad my knees have become. But I could stand in goal maybe, but I wouldn't be able to say much.
I think there needs to be a bit of a tougher officiating as well, because there looks a bit of running in there.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
Well, look, it's not just about the PSA testing that we're focusing on during Men's Health Awareness Day. This kind of walk-in football initiative, not only does it keep people active, but I've been to some, I actually have given this a go myself, walking football. It's really hard to not try to run. Yeah. But I've seen in local communities, well, it's a nice way to bring people together, and yet again, it's another example of our fantastic community trust making a difference.
No disrespect, but the age group of people playing walking football, a lot of people are on their own, lonely, and need, you know, to have a chat with someone, and why not have a little game of football as well?
It's fantastic to see them playing out on the Valley pitch as well as we count down to kick off. Earlier this afternoon, I caught up with Blackett-Taylor following his goal and the victory at Exeter last week, and it's safe to say he's relishing the opportunity of getting back out on the turf behind us. Thank you so much for joining me. Firstly, let's look back at last weekend's win at Exeter. A great win and a goal for yourself too. How much did you enjoy that?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like first and foremost the win was the most important thing, but on a personal note I was glad to get a goal, and it's something that I want to keep doing for the team.
And since Dean Holden's come in, we've reverted to a 4-3-3 system. Do you think that gets the best out of you as an individual?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I get to play higher up the pitch, and I get to isolate the defender, and I think one of my strengths is running at defenders, so I'm getting more like shots and crosses in, which is helping the team get wins.
And how much have you enjoyed working with Dean since he's come in?
Yeah, definitely. I think he's just kept it really simple. Like, he's just gave everyone confidence, and he just told me just to play my game and not to think too much about things. So I think, yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
We've won 4 of our last 5. We're 10 points off of the playoffs. What are you hoping that we can achieve between now and the end of the season?
I think we just need to take every game as it comes, not to think too much into the league and where other teams are. I think we just need to focus on ourselves and just see how things can take us. I feel like if we just focus on the next game and try and get a win, every game as it comes, everything would sort itself out, really. So.
And finally, an old teammate of yours in Jaden Stockley returns with Fleetwood Town today. What are you expecting from them as an outfit?
Yeah, we did a lot of work on them yesterday. I feel like they're a direct team, and they've got some like big physical players. So we know that we're going to have to be up for the challenge first and foremost, and then after that we can probably get the ball down and play. But we need to compete first. So we definitely know that's what's coming.
Brilliant. Corey, thank you for your time and best of luck today.
Thank you.
Flourishing under the management of Dean Holden and the system that he's playing, and he did so last weekend against Exeter. Let's take a recap back at that 90 minutes. And it started really well. This ball from George Dobson and the finish to boot, Brownie, was a nice way to open the scoring.
Yeah, the whole move's good. You know, Scott Fraser, you know, relieving pressure, driving up, turning back. Good support position from George. That ball's world class, and the finish is world class. The timing of the run, actually, from outside to in, is spectacular. You know, if we look at it from an attacking perspective, you know, making sure that George sees the run as he looks up, you know, and then timing it to perfection was very, very good.
And the thing as well about this game in particular, Curves, was the control. And looking at this point, Corey grabbing the second, doing exactly what he explained in his interview there, playing with a freedom and expression.
The significant thing for me is 2 forward passes. You know, we're so used to backwards and square, and that's what I think Dean's introduced. You know, Rasaki perhaps will look at the goal that we conceded, and that's his learning curve. But those 2 forward passes, you know, and when Stockley has been playing, a lot of it's been going backwards and square, and you don't think that's ever going to happen, that sort of pass. But the 2 goals were fantastic, and it was from the 2 wide men going inside their full-backs. So that's another way of perhaps supporting the lone centre forward. This is a poor goal from us, but Rasaki will look at this, and I like to think it won't happen again, because that's why he's here, to learn, and obviously it's a bit difficult for us to take, but he's learning, and that should never have happened. Yeah. So on one hand he scored a fantastic goal, but that's the learning curve.
Well, that's the balance that comes, isn't it, Brownie, with taking a talent like that from a Premier League club. You help nurture them, you help develop them, and then occasionally there'll be something like that, and like Curb said, a lesson to take away.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, if we look at our 2 goals, you know, we wax lyrical about our 2 goals from an attacking point of view. If you look at that clip, from their perspective, that's an excellent goal from their perspective. But we're concentrating on Charlton, so we pick holes in the defensive side of that. Yeah, I mean, there will undoubtedly have been meetings this week, and there will be conversations had about how you avoid doing that again. That's the natural progression of an individual and a unit and a team, is that you learn more from the mistakes, all right? Where you become a better player is learning and understanding how not to make those mistakes on a regular basis. So he will have definitely had the information this week, Raksaki, how to avoid that again. It's whether he can recognise it during the middle of a game and sort it out, and he'll become a better player because of it.
You'll have seen on the screen just a moment ago how to get in contact with us on WhatsApp. We'd love your opinions on perhaps that Exeter game, or how you think today's game will unfold as well. And interestingly, Curbs, in my pre-match chat with Dean, he made a point of, in a sort of roundabout way, having that period where they had to resolutely defend was equally satisfactory to him as getting the 3 points, because it showed to him this resolute hardness, this toughness that I think he's been working on the training ground. He doesn't want to be doing it too often, of course, but it's another positive to take from that victory.
Yeah, I think, you know, the way he spoke last week is that he didn't want the games to be like basketball matches, end to end, and you know, when it's like that, you're open to counter-attacks, which we've been susceptible on plenty of occasions. So yeah, I think in the short space of time, he's instilled a couple of must-dos, and when we're under pressure, this is a must-do. Yeah. And make sure you're in the position that we can defend for 5 or 10 minutes.
That's not the first time we've done that either.
No.
We've done the same against Barnsley. We won 2-0 and we were under pressure for an awful amount of that game. So it's something he's instilled. He looked at the Oxford game where he was furious and he wouldn't accept that again. And from the Oxford game, we've been miles better. The only team that really we deserved to lose to was Bolton, and all the other teams that have put us under pressure in the games that we've won, we've looked like that, like we did in that 25-minute spell against Exeter. We've been very resilient, which is great to see. Before we look at the teams and remind ourselves of the starting 11, during that game, not only did George Dobson come up with a brilliant assist, he was the first player in the EFL to complete 100 successful tackles. Has he gotten even better under Dean Holden? Yeah, I think it's a bit harsh to just... You've pinpointed before, and I certainly have up in commentary, not so much in the studio, but definitely in commentary. It's harsh to just pinpoint the tackling side of George's game. He's got a little bit more to him than that. He's quite an intelligent player. He sprays his passes around, and he's got a good range of pass. He'll do the 10, 15, 20 yarders, but he can also open up off the back foot and hit a 50, 60 yard diagonal. So he's progressing really nicely, and I guess the job for Charlton at the moment is keeping him here. And I think the extension's been activated, you know, which is one thing, which is great. But we've now got to keep him here. You know, if we're going to progress as a football club, it's the George Dobsons who show form over 18 months that you keep here. If we keep selling off the crown jewels, we're never going to get anywhere. And George has proved himself to be worthy of keeping, you know, staying at Charlton long term. Well, the players are preparing to make their way down the tunnel. We will be having a moment's silence before kick-off for those in Turkey and Syria. The scenes this week, the earthquake that's been happening there has, I think, been pretty heartbreaking to watch. So we will be paying our respects pitch side before the game begins. Ahead of that, though, let's take a look at the starting 11s for both teams. As we mentioned, Charlton remain unchanged, and then in that Fleetwood Town lineup, of course, we see the number 9 and alongside it Jayden Stockley. Gents, can I get your final thoughts overall about what kind of a 90 minutes we can expect? Curbs, I'll come to you first.
Well, what, coming from Jayden? Or
overall, what do you anticipate? How do you expect this game to unfold?
I expect us to put them on the back foot, and especially in the first 5, 10, 15 minutes. And if we score then I think we're going to go on and be quite comfortable. I don't think they've got enough to come back. Now, if I'm Innes and Ness, I know I'm in for a bit of a game. Yeah, that'll be an interesting one. It's a shame we don't have the light mic so you can pick it up and hear it as well. It's interesting, actually, because he's gone with 2 strikers there that he's bought in the window. Marriott's going to pair up with Stockley, who they bought for money off of Peterborough, who had a successful period as a goal scorer at Peterborough, and he's... You know, that looks like it's going to be a 2 up front. So it's not just about Stockley picking on one of our centre halves. They're going to have their hands full today, and it's how we cover that off. But yeah, I mean, they've been playing predominantly a 4-2-3-1, and that looks like a change of formation to me. But we'll see when they line up. It will be interesting to watch unfold. Thank you for joining us here on Charlton TV. It's now time for me to hand you over to this afternoon's commentators, Terry Smith and Greg Stubley.
Thank you, Charlotte. Welcome back to the Valley for this afternoon's League One versus Fleetwood Town. A very warm welcome to the Fleetwood fans, officials and directors, and of course the players who made their way down to the coast this afternoon. Right, let's go through.
Yeah, all good, Tel. Yeah, good. Looking forward to today. Opportunity for Charlton to build on what was an impressive away performance last week against Exeter. An Exeter side that played some decent football, and Charlton matched them and scored 2 really nice goals, and potentially could have got more as well. I think consistency is the key, Tel, and an unchanged starting 11 is something we've not said a lot this season. But if you can continue that consistency, I mean, the back 4 in particular, with Innes and Ness at the heart of it, have looked like they've been building some sort of relationships, and it's something this season we've been lacking. We've had to drag players in and out, and we don't have Miles Lieburn on the bench now as that option, but we have replaced him with Chukwuemeka, who is of equal impact, if not more of that, a little bit of experience. So Dean Holden will be coming into this game full of confidence. But this is a Fleetwood side that, while they've struggled in the league and have had a poor run of form, they did get an impressive FA Cup win against Sheffield Wednesday in the week, which will give them a little bit of confidence themselves. So I think it'll be a decent tie, and you just hope Charlton will start with control. Looking at Kilkenny, I thought he really grew into the game second half last week against Exeter. His home debut here. Charlton can gain control in that midfield, keep players like Arthur and Jaden Stockley quiet, and Charlton will certainly feel confident enough to get 3 points.
I should clarify, of course, good to have Greg back at the Valley, as he was indeed at Exeter City last week. As the players will form around the centre circle, I'll hand you over to Brian to announce what will come up in the next minute.